Dr. Sleep, the sequel to my favorite horror movie of all time and one of my favorite books of all time. It came out on September 24th, 2013, and that very same day, I picked up the book, read 300 pages of it, and then politely put it down and said, I can't do this. Quick plot summary. Danny Torrance, the kid who could shine, is now an adult, a drifter, struggling with alcoholism and just trying to get by. He meets a girl who possesses the shining too. But there's a group known as the True Knot who wants her powers and are willing to do anything to get it. I love how this book starts out. Absolutely adore it. It's like one of those
previously on Lost
type moments, and Stephen King really gives us everything that we want from a sequel. He casually goes through the Overlook aftermath, sets things straight in terms of what happened before compared to the movie versus the book. There are no twins in blue outfits. The hotel itself blew up thanks to the boiler and all sorts of other things. Dick Halloran wasn't killed by Jack Torrance. All of these differences he puts right out there right away so we know exactly what's going on. He keeps Mrs. Massey, the lady in the bathtub of room 217, not 237. Brilliant. It's wonderful to go back and really get to relive some of these moments, and it just gives you this really weird, warm sense of nostalgia that you love, even though it's horrific things that have happened and that he's going through, and yet you feel this great sense of, I've been here before. And then he takes us into this insane moment in Danny's life, this drunken, coked out stupor of a time in North Carolina, where he's just had blackout sex with a woman named Deanie, and she's got a little boy, and he thinks the cocaine is candy, and he wants it, and Danny's good enough to not let the kid have it, but he does go and steal Deanie's money, and then later we find out what actually happens to those people. I think this is King's best writing in the entire book. It's powerful, it's brutal, it's sad, it's raw. It's one of those moments that haunts Danny Torrance, and it haunts the reader as well. Reading these early chapters, you couldn't help but get this overall parental sense for Danny Torrance, like he's one of your own. You had so much potential. You could have really been something. What have you done with your life?
I could have been a contender.
How, after all this, could you end up being just like your father and your grandfather? You plead for someone to just take care of him. Wendy, how come you couldn't fully take care of him? Mr. Halloran, how come you couldn't fully take care of him? That's our little boy, and now he's all grown up, but he's gonna forever be our little Rad Rom. And you just can't help but really feel for this character. This is Stephen King in top form. But then Dr. Sleep gets away from all the things that I love. To be clear, I am very well aware that I had unreal expectations towards this book. But what am I supposed to do? I love The Shining. I love Stephen King. How could I not have unreal expectations? So when I stopped reading after 300 pages, I really wasn't surprised. After the opening chapters, obviously Stephen King had to introduce new characters and new storylines. I get that. He needed more to work with than just the memories of the Overlook Hotel, especially now that it's been exploded. I understand. And maybe I was just never going to like any of the new characters solely because I only wanted to live in a Torrance family world. Sadly though, Dr. Sleep isn't even a movie about Danny Torrance. To me, this book is about two other people. Rose the Hat, who's the antagonist of the book, and Abra, the little girl who has the shining as well. Yeah, I know, the novel is about Danny Torrance, and it's bookended with the Overlook Hotel, but it's really not about Danny Torrance. I realize I just contradicted myself, and I'm sticking with it. It's a book about Danny Torrance that isn't about Danny Torrance at all. He's literally Rocky Balboa in Creed in this movie. Creed is about Apollo's son who wants to be a boxer, and he has to overcome all these family demons and blah, 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 blah. And Rocky is there to help him out as a supporting character. Danny is the supporting character for Abra to help her out through all her problems and issues and, saving the world and stuff, and also to get some closure. But Creed is called Creed because it's not about Rocky. It's about Creed. And here, Dr. Sleep is about Abra and Rose the Hat. It shouldn't be called Dr. Sleep. It should be called Rose the Hat or Abra. False marketing in my book. False marketing. Rose the Hat, the leader of the True Knot, goes through more shit than anyone else in this book. And honestly, I feel like Rose the Hat is actually sort of set up as the protagonist of the book, which is really bizarre because She's the antagonist. Here is a woman who is trying to save her quote-unquote family from being wiped off the face of the planet. They're all dying from measles, which is basically the plague to them, and they are dropping like flies. She has to deal with an all-powerful girl who can pretty much do anything she absolutely wants, physically, mentally, anything. And Rose the Hat also has to deal with another person, Danny Torrance, who again has the Shining and can do pretty much whatever he wants, whenever he wants. It's insane. How can the villain ever compete with that? Abra has literally had all these powers since birth. Again, I ask you, how can Rose the Hat ever win this battle? And especially with Rocky Bell, with Danny Torrance helping her out. She never had a chance to win. And that's a really bad thing for the antagonist to never have a chance to win. The other reason why this book isn't about Danny Torrance at all is because he doesn't move the plot forward at all. It's Abra moving the plot forward when she sees the missing persons photos and she notices the baseball kid and they have to then go get the glove. She's pushing the plot forward. And it's also Rose the Hat pushing the action because she knows her family is going to die unless they get Abra. They have to get the steam. So of the three main characters, two of them are pushing the plot, and then the other one is basically just sort of, getting better with the alcoholism. He's doing a good job as Dr. Sleep, and he wants to ride his toy train. Nothing wrong with that. I actually really like his plot. I love his subplot. I love where he ended up going in life. But this book just isn't about him, and that's unfortunate for me. Unfortunately, I just didn't care about those two characters as much as I really, really enjoyed the Torrance family. The Overlook Torrance family. Not this extended family stuff. I do, however, think director Mike Flanagan is going to make Rose the Hat a really cool, interesting character, but it just doesn't do it for me in the book. No, I have not seen the movie yet. Rose the Hat needs to be scarier. I need to fear her. I need to believe that the protagonist might actually die a horrible, horrible death, and I never felt that. The other thing about Rose the Hat, I wish we really got to know her in a different way. I actually wish we learned about her solely through Andy's eyes. I really liked Andy as a character and the way she goes into the True Knot, and I think she has great backstory that King has given us for her. But I really wanted to see Rose through her eyes. As this person who's new to the True Knot, we could see everything about this group through her eyes, which would have been the same as us as a reader, learning about her for the first time. I would have liked to kept Rose the Hat a little bit more mysterious, and as the book goes on, we learn more and more and more about her, and she gets darker and darker and darker. And she has to be very all-powerful, but apparently she's just not, comparatively. I see Andy as a sort of Michael from the Lost Boys, where he slowly has to go through that transition and join the Lost Boys. I really thought that would have been a cool way to do it, but I'm really not one to second guess Stephen King, and I feel like I'm doing nothing but second guessing Stephen King, as if he isn't doing all sorts of brilliant things in the book that I'm just sort of glossing over. Sorry. I just think it would be really cool if Rose the Hat was actually like this big gray area of a person where she's doing all these evil, reprehensible things to kids, but at the same time, she's just trying to protect and feed her family. And wouldn't you do awful things if it was the only way for you to protect your family? Like, if someone told me I had to slay 100 people in order to keep my family safe, someone sharpen my knife, let's do this, right? I mean, are you not seeing what Rose the Hat has to do? And is it not a situation where she has no other choice? Then this should be a gray area villain. And I think that would have been really cool, but I don't think King paints her as a gray area villain. I think she's very much an antagonist, straight up. Just not an all-powerful one like the protagonist. And as for the True Knot as a whole, I hate the pirate names. It just makes them come off even goofier than they already are, and I want to fear them. I want them to be scary, and hopefully Flanagan does that, makes these guys scary. But in this, it just doesn't work. I want some Bill Paxton, Catherine Bigelow, Near Dark type vampires, nitty gritty, raw, just dirty, coming at you, bloody craziness. Instead, even Stephen King brings up the Twilight vampires, literally in the book. I mean, there's literally a scene where it's are these vampires, like Twilight? And then they say no, but you're kind of well, they might be. Side note, I miss you, Bill Paxton. I miss you.
Finger licking good.
Overall, I just think the book is soft. It doesn't feel like a horror novel to me. I don't think it is. I don't think it is purposely. It's a story of redemption. It's a coming of age story. It's a fall of a community. It's about going through death. It's about the cycle of life. Dr. Sleep is a strong look at the cycle of life in all its phases. I love that. That's fantastic. It's just not the Dr. Sleep book that I was hoping for. I wanted a stronger, horror-filled sequel to The Shining. It's just soft. There are very few obstacles that the protagonists have to get through that you really feel like, oh man, they might not get through this. There was never a point where I didn't think they were going to overcome those obstacles kind of easily. The True Knot and Rose had way more difficult obstacles that they needed to get through. So yeah, first time around, I stopped reading it. And even this time, it was tough for me to get through it. Again, I understand that my expectations might have been a little askew, but can a guy want something? And even in the ending, when they're literally battling in the ruins of the Overlook Hotel, I felt like Stephen King purposely tried to stay away from all of those things that we love. Yes, those are some of the Stanley Kubrick things. I get it. He didn't want to go into those because he doesn't like the Stanley Kubrick version. But you gotta know that your audience desperately wants the Grady twins. We want to see the lady in the bathtub. We want to see Jack Torrance with his axe. Oh, do we want to see Jack Torrance with his axe? We want to feel those things again. We want that nostalgia. We want those memories. We want them all to come flooding back to us the way that they should be coming back to Danny. We don't want to be in this little shed next to the Overlook. We don't want to deal with little animal hedges that are running around scaring people. We want some of that Kubrick vision. I'm sorry. Those opportunities were there in the end, the way he sets up the structure of the book, and he purposely didn't go for it. He went with Horace Derwent instead. I mean, come on. Not even Delbert Grady. With that being said, I do think that director Mike Flanagan for the movie is going to give us those things simply based on the trailer. I think he is a fan first and a director second, and he knows what he wants. And I think what he wants to see is what we want to see. I think we're going to see those remnants again. We're going to see some Danny Torrance tricycle action. We're going to see those hallways. We're going to see the carpet. We're going to see room 237. We're going to see Jack Torrance's presence. Might not be physical, but it will be there. And don't even talk to me about Jack Torrance's presence in Dr. Sleep's ending. That just kind of really hurt my soul. I think Flanagan is really going to give us those iconic moments, and I think he's going to make Rose the Hat a really, really cool, interesting character. Definitely stylistically. I mean, the hat looks pretty dope. I think Flanagan is going to give me all the feels and all the goosebumps that I am hoping for, and I really, really cannot wait. I just wish the book and Stephen King gave me all those feels like he did in those opening chapters of the book. I just wish it kept going the whole time.